Welcome back, guys, to Prado 150 out of here. So today we're going to be installing the automatic transmission cooler into the Prado, ready for the up-and-coming Caravan due for pickup in March 2023. Also, Dan's been so good to me, and we've got Joshua's car in the background also getting some repairs done. I'm not sure how much help that I am to Dan, but I'm providing him some assistance, as you can see. So we've got Joshua's car up on the hoist, and we're just going to be changing the ball joints that need replacing. What do we got here, Dan? This is Joshua's.
Well, that's the lower ball joint off of the passenger side, and usually a good ball joint, this would be fairly stiff to actually move, and I don't know if you can kind of hear this on camera, but there's quite a bit of lateral movement there. Yeah, like the ball on socket is very loose, and obviously that's just me doing it by hand, but on the vehicle it's going to be accentuated a lot more than that, so fair bit of movement in that one.
So guys, here's the Prado. The best thing about working in Dan's shop is he's got all the gear and the tools and it's clean and there's plenty of room. Not when you're going to share a garage with your kids. It's a different story. So we're going to put an automatic transmission cooler in here, but apparently where we've got our red arc, that's where they go. So we're going to have to...
I think that's where I haven't fitted this exact one before, but I'm pretty certain that where it wants to go, just by looking at the bracket, is right there. So we may have to improvise a little bit. And
a bit of creative work, you reckon?
I can always fabricate up a spacer or something, or another leg off one of the brackets to bring it further out or move it to the driver's side, but we'll work that out anyway. Yeah.
So I've got to get to work and prove my worth here as the one-day apprentice. So I've got to pull all this off and allow access down there. So I better get into it. We're in it.
Kind of running out of workspace here. And I think they may have changed the design on this slightly, but I've fitted a lot of these lately to Hiluxes.
Yes.
And I've done a few earlier model Prados, and like I say, I'm almost certain that's where this one's going to want to sit.
There it is.
So that's actually cooler. I just want to add that it is an Australian-made cooler. It's a Davis Craig one, which is a good brand. So I only ever use Davis Craig or PWR for any of the transmission coolers. Because they are a good solid unit. Some of the cheaper ones will actually rupture and leak, or if I've actually even seen them just corrode out, with salt water and whatnot. So it is a good quality one, and it's always important to try and fit a decent sized cooler in there. Like you want something that's got plenty of passes. This is about the perfect size. Anything that's kind of getting a bit smaller than this is not as effective as what you'd want it to be. So this is a good size.
Now, talking about that, so Dan, now talking about automatic transmission coolers, why should I have one?
Well,
why am I here putting this in?
You were here because you have told me that you purchased a Caravan.
Yep.
And for me, this is cheap insurance, and you are looking after your vehicle.
Yep. Okay. So why is it a good idea to have one, particularly for towing?
Well, if you're towing something, over, let's say, over 1.5 tons in this vehicle, 1.5 tons.
Yep. So my Caravan's going to be 1.8.
1.8. Yeah. Not necessarily on the straight, on the flat, but pulling up hills.
On the beach.
Or on the beach, under load.
Yeah.
The transmission's working fairly hard.
Yep.
It will drop gears, bring the revs up to try and compensate to bring a bit more power and torque through. In which case, the transmission temperature is going to heat up, so the fluid in the transmission will actually heat up.
Yep.
the hotter it gets, the thinner it gets, and basically it doesn't serve its purpose. So it's not as good at lubricating, and also the viscosity will change. So the transmission isn't going to operate the way it should be.
Okay.
Hot fluid is not a good thing. It can cause serious damage to an auto transmission.
Okay.
So this here is basically put in line with your transmission feed on return hoses, and this will cool the transmission fluid that goes back into the transmission itself.
And so how does it work? How is it being cooled?
Pretty simple. It's a liquid to air.
Yep.
So air flows through the fins, through the core here. Liquid flows through these bars here, the actual cooling fins of the cooler itself. So the liquid will flow through there, the transmission fluid.
Yep.
As air passes through, it cools it. Liquid goes in, comes out cooler the other end.
So
basically.
like a radiator?
Like a radiator, yeah, exactly like that.
So how's the transmission fluid being cooled now without that?
Well,
Does it have another one of these? Or?
Yours will be going through an actual tank in the radiator itself, so it's immersed in coolant. Right, so the coolant actually takes the heat out of it, which is all well and good for standard application, but when you're towing and your engine is working hard as well, everything's heating up in one go. So your transmission's heating up, your engine's heating up, all the hot fluid and liquid is combining, everything's
radiator fluids going up.
Engine oil temperature's going up, so this eliminates that, and it will still flow through the radiator, but it comes through here, it does come through this as well. Okay. Right? So this is your second line of defense basically. This will cool the fluid a second time round before it goes back into the transmission. So the ones that we've got, I believe, I haven't even opened them up yet, but they should have a grease nipple in there, so they're a serviceable joint.
Awesome.
Basically these are a sealed thing, and yeah.
Now, you did mention that that they've done the right thing by not doing the wheel alignment. And you said
yeah.
Sometimes if you don't go to reputable people, they just do it anyway.
Oh, they'll just do a wheel alignment. Yeah, it's all good, and they'll set the alignment up to counter for play or movement in worn suspension components, and that's not the right thing to do. Ball joints are a very dangerous thing. If they do happen to fail completely and let go, you literally can lose a wheel. it will come out the A-arm. And same with tie rod ends and rack ends as well. And we're actually going to replace the steering idler because these bushes inside of the shaft here are renowned for wearing out, and you get a lot of excess movement in there. But a very important thing to check. Ball joints and tie rods and linkages. If you lose your steering, it's not going to be a very fun day.
No, definitely not. No. So that is why we take our cars to reputable people like yourself.
Yeah, not always the easiest. I might just add as well, not always the easiest thing to pick is play in a ball joint. There is a certain way to check it, it's not always that easy to kind of pick up movement in these. When they're really, really bad, you'll hear it, you'll feel it, but you don't want them to get to that point, So, whenever you take your car somewhere, and just ask them to kind of have a bit of a check of those ball joints and see what they're like. Especially like on IFS setups like this, running bigger wheels and doing a fair bit of off-roading, not everything's going to last forever, these will cop a fair bit of punishment. So a good idea to use a good quality one as well, not some kind of cheap thing that was bought off of eBay. A good quality ball joint that it has a greasable nipple on their service point, so you can keep them lubricated all the time. So the uppers has actually already been done. You can see on there, I think you said Josh did those himself.
Yeah, he did actually.
So the uppers, as you can see there, it's got a grease nipple on it, so you can, every service, top up the grease level inside of there and keep them nice and lubricated, and they should last a lot longer. Also, a bit of grease can take a slight bit of play out of them as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So what do so you're tapping into the lines, the existing lines, basically?
yeah, that's right. Yeah. So there are different ways of doing it. Some vehicles will want it on the return line. Some will want it on the hot line, which is coming from transmission. This one, I believe, we actually tap it into the return line from memory.
Yeah.
Well, I did one the other day on a Jeep Wrangler, and the instructions that came with it were wrong, and it was actually a prototype design. They hadn't actually made one for this particular vehicle before. The instructions were wrong, and anyway, I spoke to the guys about it and they said, well, thanks for pointing that out, because we haven't actually done one, we've just made it to suit, we haven't actually physically worked out what this was. The older ones kind of had the lines going where they should have, so I worked out they actually wanted that one on the return side, that's the way it worked better. So it'll tell us in the instructions where this one actually wants to be plumbed into, but essentially we want to have cooler transmission fluid going back to the transmission.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, one thing just came to mind. Last time I was here, when we were inspecting Lachlan's car, we had someone that had watched Prado 150 out here, and they came to see you. And I think when I left, we were a bit worried. We weren't sure how you were going to go, but there was a happy outcome.
We had a breakthrough.
Yeah.
So basically, I don't know if you got much on video last time, but this guy had a fair bit of trouble with his previous engine, ended up having a cracked piston. The initial problem, I don't think, was actually ever detected. Now, he said that the engine wasn't running right prior to the piston failure, and he told me that it's continued to run incorrectly after the engine had actually been rebuilt. So to me, that rings alarm bells and says, oh look, we need to find out what the cause of pistons don't just crack. There's a reason for it. Anyway, it seemed as though that there was a problem with the software for the injectors. So the ECU talks the injector driver, and
so that would have been on the original engine.
Yeah, I think so. Now, whether it had some engine work done a fair while ago, because it was a 12-year-old Prado, and it had a fair few kilometres on it. Whether it had actually had some engine work done previously that people were unaware of and that hadn't been done correctly, I don't know the history of it. But there was some corrupt software in there, and it seemed as though that the injectors had not been calibrated.
So back then,
correctly.
On that original engine.
Just from the get-go, and he did actually inform me that after the engine had been rebuilt and a new set of injectors were installed, it had running issues, and whether it was actually solved or not, or it had just been fixed up to the point that the engine was running and hadn't actually been finely tuned. I don't know. It was a bit vague on the history, and it was a little while ago. So
the fellow that came in, he was tearing his hair out, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Because he'd been elsewhere.
Well, he was worried basically that he was going to have another failed engine because of this issue, and he said, "Do you think this actually may have been the initial cause?" And I said, "Absolutely." You know, if it was happening then, and you had a problem with the engine, and now you've rebuilt the whole thing, and it's still that, it definitely would have been what caused the issue.
Wow. So so as we said, this fella brought his car here. And Magic Dan here.
Well,
Prado man.
He tells me it's running a hell of a lot better. And
but you found issues in the computer.
I found
and the injectors.
I found a problem. I did find a problem. That was basically the areas to start. I didn't want to go gun-ho into it and let's just rip everything apart. So I found an issue with calibration on those injectors.
So I'm just going to go to another point on that. So, you guys that have Prados, so what I found with Dan is you can talk to Dan and go, oh, it's doing this, and Dan just knows. Like, if you go somewhere and they don't know, would I be right? Some people just keep charging you money for even though they've got no idea and they're trying to find the problem, they still keep. You'll end up with a bill where the thing's not even coming close to getting fixed.
Let me just summarise it. Guesswork is really costly.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
If I ever have to guess, it'll be on my time and my expense. Yeah. And I don't like guessing.
That's not how some people work, is it?
No. If I don't know the answer, or I think I'm close, I've got many resources on the computer that I can speak to people all around the world and ask them, hey, what do you reckon on this? Sometimes they say your guess is as good as mine. Other times they go, well, actually, this is what we found, which is a similar issue to what you're having. You know,
let's try that.
Here we go.
Yeah.
And like I've got a thing online there, which I subscribe to, I pay for, and it is purely mechanics all around the world speaking to other mechanics. Yeah. There's no outside input at all. It is mechanics who run workshops all over the world who speak to one another and go, hey, I had this problem, found this to be the fix, and we all share info.
Because mate, I was excited that someone came in that watched your videos, but also it was exciting that you just sorted him out pretty much.
Well, yeah, just from the get-go, alarm bells were ringing, and I just, oh no, that's just how
Dan's been very humble here, but like I'm giving him a good plug. I'm not, we're not sponsored or anything here, but
no, you're definitely not being paid.
No, I'm not being paid. I'm probably being charged for the time that he's on the video. You got to come in a bit, mate.
Oh, drifting away.
Yeah. I know we're going to be close, mate, but the camera likes us to be a bit closer.
That's fine.
So what I'm getting at is, if you've got a Prado or any other vehicle, I know you've got a lot of work on, mate. Anyway, he's got so much work because that's how good that Dan is at his job. And just my time with you, I found he doesn't beat around the bush. He doesn't put extra charges on your bill for stuff that he hasn't done. And if he's, as I said, if you're doing a bit of guesswork, the clock's not ticking, is it?
Well, the way I look at it as well is, to me, my time is very valuable, and
it is.
I look at it as if I'm standing around guessing for a day, I'm wasting my time. I need to actually go, right, let's hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
I invest time into it at that point, on my time, and I go, well, okay, I now know how to fix that. So when the next one comes, which it will, I can go straight away, bang, that's the problem, this is what we do.
And when you're saying that, you remind me of an example. I came and just out of a conversation, I said to Dan, when I was away on holidays, that it felt like something with the steering. I heard a noise. Yeah. And immediately he went, oh, I know what that is. We haven't fixed it yet, but it's for you anyway, it's an easy fix. Yeah. Whereas you said other people have had that exact same problem. They've been to other places and they've fixed this, fixed that, done this, and still the problem's there.
Yeah.
Is it the steering? Is something in the steering?
The intermediate shaft and the steering column. Yeah. They're very common with a lot of Toyotas.
They just need a lube or something?
Yeah, you just need to pull them out, lubricate them. And
you told me stories where that's the problem, but cars are going elsewhere
and people have replaced power steering racks and all these kinds of things. It's the problem still exactly the same.
Whereas I just happened to have a conversation with you out of, Dan. And straight away he went, I know what that's going to be.
I like to find solutions to easy problems.
Yeah.
Because, like I say, it makes my life a hell of a lot easier. Yeah. I don't want every single time a car comes in, oh, what was that again? Or I just, every problem job that comes through the door, I send away because it seems like it's too hard work. I actually welcome the problem jobs because I go, well, if I can fix this and I find the solution, that's a bonus to me.
Yeah. So when the next one comes
along, like I say, which it always will. I've had a lot of jobs come in and I go, I'll never do one of those again. And then 2-3 years down the track,
Here it comes.
Oh, there it is, and they go, know exactly what
Yes,
that is.
yeah.
So, yeah. But,
well, just in case I'm being charged for this time on the video, we better get back to work. No, I'm only joking. All right, so we've got two cars going here at the moment.
Yeah.
So
that stuff's easy. We've done 50,000 of those before.
All right.
So this one
working with me might not be so easy, mate.
This one here is a bit more interesting because, like I say, I'm certain that this is going to have to sit where that charger is, and we will have to.
So would I be of assistance to you? I'm imagining the first job is to get this.
Yeah, all of the cowling
and this
can come off.
Painful bolt.
And that painful bolt. Yeah. So that painful bolt, all of the cowling, so we can open up in here. Maybe just pop the grill out slightly, so we've got a bit more room. And then we'll assemble the brackets onto this and work out where we want to fit it.
Now, and the other couple of jobs, we've done you a favour. We hope we've run an extra lead through the front to the back of the car for the what do you call it on the Caravan?
So you had the anti-sway.
Anti-sway, yeah. So hopefully I've helped him out with that one.
We will soon find out.
And the other thing we're going to do is a 12-pin plug.
Yeah, we need a 12-pin plug. So then you've got two accessory wires in there for whatever you might want to run down the track. If you're going to run a fridge or power a DC-DC charger in the van, and that's maybe something else we might talk about is how to actually connect your vehicle to a DC-DC charger that is in the van and not actually in your vehicle itself. There's a way of doing it, several ways of doing it.
So we've run a lead too from the main, the starter battery.
From the cranking battery.
We've got an instant plug ready to go for you on that one.
Up the back,
Yeah, that's all been as well. And one other thing I was just thinking then is,
it'll come to you.
All right, we'll get going, eh?
Okay. So
Dan, looks like this is not a job that you can just leave me to do, is it?
Well, I wouldn't put it like that, but anyway, what we've found is, and like I say, I just want to touch on, I haven't actually installed this exact kit to a 150 series before. Otherwise, I'd tell you exactly how we're going to do it.
So we're all going to learn something.
We're all going to learn something. I've used other ones. This one here, I thought we'll try it on your one because I like the product.
Yeah.
So basically, what we thought was going to happen is the cooler itself was going to foul up on the bracketry for the BCDC. I don't think that's going to be the case because it looks like the cooler actually wants to sit underneath this radiator support.
Yep.
In which case we're going to be off the back or the top of the charger housing itself. So it's actually going to sit between the radiator or the condenser here. It's going to sit between the condenser and the BCDC.
Now, silly question. I'm going to ask in case anyone else was thinking of it as they watch this video.
Yeah.
Being in front of the radiator, there's no issues there with airflow or any of that kind of stuff?
Look, there'll always be some impedance on airflow to a degree, but the main thing is keeping your grill as clutter-free as possible. And I mean this section of the as soon as you put lights here, right, like a good sized set of lights, yes, it's going to stop the airflow to a degree. All this stuff that we're putting in here now is perforated, so air will still travel through it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, guys, let me know in the comments if you've got a Prado that's got the red arc already in there. I suppose it depends on what you're putting first, is it? Whether you've done the cooler first or with the red arc.
Yeah.
In this case, we've already had the red arc in there, and we're going to put the cooler in. So, let us know if you've done the same thing and what you've done. So I was just having a look under Joshua's vehicle while it's up on the hoist just to have a check out. And have a look here. Cheeky rat bag has undone this here to make a bit of noise. Well, the only issue with that is what's straight above it? A cab. So, shh. we're not going to tell him, but we're fixing it. We're joining it back together. Look at all the sooties created all back here. So anyway, so Josh, we're just fixing your car up, mate. Keep you safe. All right. So you need to whack this on, or you just?
Not really, no. It's going to floating, so the wheel nuts will actually pull that into place. Yeah. And you just get it kind of centralised and seated on the hub, and
Which is
yeah, it's pretty much they're going to want to keep coming out, I think. So what you can do is just get I'll just jump in here. Come on, big bar, sit somewhere. Okay. On the floor. You'll go in.
Oh, I've done a bad thing.
What happened? Did it shear off?
Yeah.
Oh no.
I think I lost my my apprenticeship there.
Wow, it's just completely destroyed it. He probably was very weak before then.
Just created him some more work. Sorry about that.
It's not the end of the world because nearly every one of these that I have in here, they're all broken.
It's been done before, hey?
Yeah. So they're very, very tight in there.
I gave it a good
It doesn't really do anything. Like it just holds that kind of like that. If you didn't have anything there, it's still going to kind of sit where it's supposed to.
I gave it a good seeing too.
Yeah. Too much of a seeing to it.
Too much, that's right.
Yeah, okay. You could drill it all out. I think we could probably get on with the other.
drill well.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. So.
Just over to Josh's car. So I did this. I didn't give it too much of a going over this time. So there we go. I'd say this one's the one that has to be replaced. You're on, mate.
So I just wanted to kind of touch on this one.
Yeah.
Just a bit of a tip when installing these coolers. So basically what I do is you get your hose on one side, slide your clamp up. You can obviously do this the other way, it's just already put the hose on there. So get your clamp in place on that. You do that side up, and then do the exact same with this one here. So get your clamp on there, loosen it off a touch, get it on your cooler, like that.
Oh, just cut the hose.
Right, do both of them up, right, get your cooler down there in place, and then you can feed this hose through to where you want it to go, and then you just literally cut it off. Instead of trying to put one through, cut it and whatever, and make the lengths exact, I just do it like this. So actually feed it through as a loop, and then work out from there where you want to cut your hose down to size. Yeah. And then actually have these already done up and in place down there, because it's a bit hard to get to these when it's actually installed in the vehicle.
And probably less chance of losing excess fluid, is that right?
Oh, not just that, it's just trying to get back down to do these up and feed the lines on it, because these are a fairly tight fit on the actual barb fittings that come off of this cooler. So actually getting that mounted on there first, and then this end is actually easy to access. You can get to where you're going to connect it back into the cooler lines itself. We're just getting that on there first and doing these up, having it back in place, you can't really go wrong with the lengths of your hose then, because it's already physically mounted in a position to where it wants to go. And then once you've done that, and you can kind of start like half get this on there before you connect up your other end to the cooling lines, but wrap it in some conduit, so you know, just get that onto there and slide it in, go all the way along. It does come with some kind of sheathing to go on there, but I just like this heavy duty conduit. Just stops them rubbing on brackets and things. But when you put these in, you kind of really got to make sure that you route it in a good order, because if it's pinched or continuously rubbing on something and you do end up having a failure in one of these lines here, it's not going to do your transmission a whole lot of good. Main thing, get it all in there, zip tie it in place, or use P clamps or something like that, a saddle clamp, to actually hold it in position, and then wrap it in some good quality conduit, and that will eliminate anything rubbing through prematurely.
Mate, you've done this before, haven't you?
A couple of times. But we've worked out how we're going to mount this now, so it will actually sit up in behind the BC-DC charger.
Okay.
Just with a little bit of manipulation of these brackets. Some of it is going to be blocked off. The BC-DC is going to kind of sit half in front of this, but you're still going to get a reasonable amount of airflow through there. It's still going to do something to help with the transmission temperatures. So usually you wouldn't have anything in front of it, but in this instance we do. And we don't really want to move the red arc from its position, so we're happy that it covers it a little bit. It's not hard up against it. There is still a decent gap, so you're still going to get airflow in around there. Okay. The bottom arm will drop, and you can lift that out. Just kind of wiggle and pull the CV.
Okay.
Now we can move that right up the way. And what we do next is undo this one here. Right, and then that will all drop away.
So it looks like there's anything.
Oh, we already took that one out.
Oh, okay. Don't worry about it.
So that one there should be a 22 mil.
Okay, and that's all right on this one?
So there will be a 22 mil probably over there somewhere. And take that one off. So that should be it.
Okay.
Now what you do, just put the nut back on just a couple of turns. Right. So then when you actually release the pressure off of this, and the knuckle itself drops off the shank of the ball joint, it doesn't just go bang onto the floor, or you try to catch it. This will actually catch it, and then you can just wind that off once you've got control of the weight of the hub there.
Okay.
So there are many little tools and things.
I'm learning something.
There are many little tools and things that you can use to separate these ball joints. Like there is a little fork that goes in there, but these ones are fairly straightforward.
Just use the trusty hammer.
So you just use the trusty hammer, and you just give it a couple of good blows on the. Probably do that on the other side so that we can see it, but that side was easier to kind of get to. You're hitting it on this flat area here, not on the actual shank of the ball joint, not the ball joint itself, right there, and that will actually put a bit of shock through this piece of metal here and release the tension off of it. So it shouldn't be too tight. Famous last words. There you go. Just like that. You don't want to keep blasting it. You just want to do a couple of good solid hits. Otherwise you will damage the metal. Now if you swing the ball joint out like that, it all comes away. Just like that.
Okay. And the bearings are in there too.
That's where your wheel bearing is housed on there. So now the next thing to do is to take these nuts off, which are a 14 mil. So there's 4 of them. These square-headed bolts we discard because we've got new ones. So take those off, and this whole ball joint assembly will then come away.
Sorry, what'd you say? 14?
14s.
14, So you're taking the existing pipe off, aren't you?
Yeah, so the existing cooler line that goes into the top of the tank.
Yep.
There, you get rid of that. It's proving that it's very well on there. Very well on there. I actually had to cut it to try and get it to come off, because you get rid of this hose altogether, it's no longer actually needed.
Oh, you don't need it, yeah.
It's, I'm surprised how tight this is, because you had a radiator not done that long ago in this, and this would have had to come off.
So Dan, we got through it, eh? Well, you did.
Yeah.
I think I've been a bit of a help to you, maybe.
You have?
Yeah. Oh, we broke that thing, remember? But no, does it cause a problem over there?
Oh,
On Josh's car?
I'm really not too worried about that.
Okay, he's not too worried, that's alright, I'm not worried either.
When we get it back in the future, we will
Good.
have a look at that. But yeah, I'm not too fussed about that. It's a pretty insignificant thing. It's just a tiny little bracket. I think we're gonna,
mate. You better come in view, see.
we're gonna open up a can of worms. Late in the afternoon now, if we try to start welding stuff onto that.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
But yeah, so
give us a rundown, Dan. Where are we at? What have we done? It's
So-
had a big day, mate.
yeah.
I've made it a big day for you.
So we managed to get the trans cooler in.
Yep.
In behind the BCDC, like we said we were going to do.
Okay.
Routing the pipework and plumbing it in was a little bit tricky, but it's in there. It's not, and as you've seen, it's all nice and mounted and firm, and we've got the conduit on the whole length of the hose there, so it's protected.
Awesome.
Tight squeeze, but it's in there. It's going to get good airflow.
Yep.
All we're doing now is just zip tying the final sections of the hose to the bottom of the radiator support.
Yep.
That's pretty much where we end with that.
Mate, we've got a bit done, haven't we? Two cars done.
Yeah, two cars done.
Yep.
Yep.
No, that's been great. So I'll have better cooler train.
You'll have a happier transmission.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, mate, it's been a big day, hasn't it?
We did it.
Probably longer than you thought it might have been.
Yeah, that's all right. These things always, challenges sometimes. But,
Well, thanks for fitting me in.
that's all right.
And we got two cars done.
Two done.
So that's a bit of a mammoth effort, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, mate, really appreciate your help. Thanks
No,
again.
that's all right. No worries.
And I'll have cooler transmission, and Joshua will have a better steering car, won't he?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it should be a lot nicer now.
yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And I think it's time to let you go, mate. Seeing the day's come to an end.
Yeah, well,
Might have to go and have a cold one, I think.
Yeah, quick tidy up and then
Yeah.
do exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you need Dan, he's busy. He's booked out until the end of the year, aren't you?
I've already taken bookings for April next
Oh,
year. It's
serious,
just crazy.
mate.
Yeah.
That just goes to show, isn't it?
Crazy.
So if you need Dan to help you out with your Prado or any other car, make sure you get in soon, because you may not get in.
Yeah. It's a bit like that. It's
Yeah,
become
yeah.
very exclusive, and I never wanted it to be, but
I had to share my spot with Joshua.
yeah.
And which reminds me, I better make a booking then myself
Yeah.
to get the
rest
other
of it
stuff
done,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, all right, mate. Well, see you on the next one, eh?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Prado 150 out here.